If you would have asked me, 5 years ago, do you think you would have all these cows and cats and a sheep and people would be coming to your farm and you're introducing, you know, people to these farm animals in a new light? I'd be like, no, I don't know. I don't see where that would be a possibility. And it's just been incredibly impactful. And then there are also days I just want to cry and I think to myself, what have I done? Hi, I'm Denise Montrose from the Tennessee Cow Rescue at Sama Farm, and I'm entering A World Gone Good the third time.
Well, hello, my name is Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light into the darkness to prove there is still good out there, and lots of it. Welcome to World Gone Good. You can spread the good by following us wherever you're listening, and also by giving us a rating and review. These things take just a second of your good time, and they really do help more good people just like you find the show. So please, yes, follow us, rate us, review us. For each and every one of these things, we say, as always, thank you. Okay, so here is a question. What did you get for Valentine's Day? A card? Some flowers? A box of candy? None of the above? Anybody else get a FaceTime call from a cow? Or was that just me? You're about to hear all about that and much, much more from our good returning guest, Denise Montrose from the Tennessee Cow Rescue. She's back to give us an update of everything good going on at the farm. And there's a bigger picture here that's all about following your heart, taking chances, and that good old thing we call perseverance. But before we get to our present day conversation, I thought I'd take us back to our first conversation with her over 100 episodes ago. To do that, you're going to have to fasten your seatbelts because we're revving up the good old World Gone Good time machine. We're going to take a trip back, all the way back to September 2021, to the very first time we spoke with Denise, when we first met her, and she first opened up to us and told us everything about the Tennessee Cow Rescue. Denise Montrose, you woke up one day and decided you liked a cow named Elizabeth. Go, tell us everything.
Yeah, crazy story, completely unplanned. I moved to Tennessee 4 years ago and purchased a house that was surrounded by cow pasture. And I always loved cows, so it was a great place to be. And one day on my 50th birthday, and I didn't realize it at that moment, I just looked back a couple months ago and said, oh my gosh, that was actually my 50th birthday. I was leaving the neighborhood and saw a tiny cow calf by herself in a very small parcel next to a church where there had never been a cow. She was segregated from the herd, and it turns out she wasn't part of that herd anyway. But I went over there and I was like, oh my gosh, I love you. And I started to visit her every single day and eventually ran into the young man who was taking care of her and got to be friends with him, became more and more involved with this cow calf. And then at the end of the year, so about 2 months later, he says, hey, I'm going to sell this calf. And I'm like, oh, no, you're not. And I decided to purchase her with the intent I was going to find her a home or give her to one of the existing animal sanctuaries. And when I called 6 states worth of farm sanctuaries and no one would take her, I decided to open my own.
Time to return to the present. Here comes Denise to share how far her good has come. Okay, so funny story. It's Valentine's Day. And before Jim goes to work, he says, "You're going to get a phone call today. It's going to be a FaceTime. You have to answer it." And I'm like, what if I'm in the bathroom or not available to answer it? Wait, who's calling? And he said, "Just answer the phone." I was like, okay. And he went to work. And then somewhere along the line during the day, my phone rings. And I look down and there's the number with the FaceTime. And I see what I think is a cow. And I'm like, wait, what? And I hit answer. And this beautiful cow is laid out on a bed of hay with this giant pink and black nose. And I didn't even know what to say. And I knew immediately who it was. It was you, Denise Montrose. So Denise, what was your take on the version of this phone call?
It was me. Well, we had to try you a couple times, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's not going to answer because he's like, who's FaceTiming me from this phone number I don't recognize? And we eventually got you on the phone, and I had to then message Jim and say, I'm so sorry. I did not think to get a screen grab because your face, just in that second or two when you're processing why there's a cow FaceTiming you, was just the best.
I also was like, why does this cow have such a pink nose? Like it's like Mason, my dog, has when we call him pink face. Because his whole, especially when he gets tired, his whole front of his face goes pink, bright pink. And I was just staring going, what is it? Now, let's go back a second. Where did you come up with this idea? Because I think it was so fun.
Well, since we brought Annie to the farm, which was January 3rd, she's kind of been, the most recent farm favorite. And I've just been trying to keep everybody updated on what's happening with her. And I was thinking about Valentine's Day and, maybe something fun that we could do. And I don't really know where I got the idea. I think I probably picked it up from another rescue that's not very far from here, and they have all kinds of animals, and they had some type of kissing booth. I don't know what kind of animals they had in the kissing booth or how they invited people to their farm, but that got me thinking. And I'm like, I'm just going to set up this FaceTime call. And if someone donated a round bale of hay, then we called whoever they wanted us to for Valentine's Day.
Because you have to get creative in your fundraising.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because everyone's asking for money. Everyone needs money. You've got to really kind of put yourself out there and say, well, what could I do that would also benefit someone else? And it was, this was kind of fun. And it ended up being a really exciting day because, we ended up talking to an 86-year-old grandma, and she could barely work her iPhone. And we ended up talking to a great granddaughter who was 5 years old, and she was beyond elated that a cow called her, and then everywhere in between.
I love it. I love it so much. Now let's talk about this for a second. You were here on this show 100 and let me do the math. Oh, I'm going to screw this up. 107 episodes ago. Can you believe it? September 22nd, 2021. That is going on 3.5 years ago. When you think back to our first conversation, what do you remember about it?
Oh my gosh. So that was pretty early on. I had just arrived at the farm in April. So I remember being in the RV, and I'm no longer in the RV, thank goodness, because that just made everything 10 times the challenge. But it was still pretty early on. I think at that time we only had Elizabeth and Agnes here.
Yeah, you had two.
Yeah. I don't even think Alyssa and Simone, which are the dairy cows that came from a factory dairy farm here in Tennessee, had arrived yet.
Nice. Now you think back to that person for a second. You being the person, were you excited? Were you lost? Do you giggle now thinking back at that and of how far you've come?
Yeah, a super good question. I think it depends on the moment. There are times I look back on it and think to myself, like, look at how far you have come since then, because I tend to be pretty impatient. I want to do things and, get more done and change more things and build and grow. And, I get frustrated. But when I take a second and I look back on that time, I'm like, okay, calm down. You're going to get there. If you've gone this far in 3 years, think about how much farther you'll be in 3 more.
It's so amazing. So how many cows do you have now total?
At the rescue, we have 10. Annie was number 10. And then last year, we ended up helping to save over 20, I think it was 23 or 24 cows last year that never even came here to the rescue. So we helped them out of a bad situation, helped rehome them, whatever the situation was. And I never expected that to happen.
Was this all happening in Tennessee? We can go to 30. All of this in Tennessee, or was it around the nation?
Yeah, we've had a couple of outside of Tennessee. Wow. Something else I never really thought.
Right.
Another thing that is completely a surprise to me, and I don't think we talked about this in the second episode, but people call me as a resource. Farmers who have had cows for 20 years call and say, hey, I heard you've got this blind cow. I heard you had a dummy cow that can't stand. Someone told me about this. Can you come to my farm and help me? And I'm like, what?
Isn't that funny? You're now an expert.
I'm like, you've had cows for 20 years and you want my help? Like, the first time it happened and I was driving over to this house, I'm like, I'm such a fraud. I have no idea what I'm going to say when I get there. I'm going to try to be really helpful, but I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. And it's been amazing because what I realize is that I'm able to bring an alternative to what they've already had. And a lot of them, surprisingly, still don't have farm vets that come. And a lot of the times in very rural, and this isn't necessarily the case here, we have quite a few farm vets available to us, but the more rural, the more lower income, the answer is always just kill the cow, and keep on moving, right? Don't waste any money on it. It's not worth saving. But there's been this giant change in perception as the years have gone over, and a raising of consciousness. And these farmers are like, nah, I want to do better.
That's really magical. And something you said that is so key to so many people listening right now, including myself, is you were driving over and you thought, I'm not good enough. I'm a fraud. Who am I to ... question mark, right?
Yeah.
Which is such a human thing. And yet I have friends. I just have a very, very dear friend since high school who called me or texted me and said, hey, can I get 20 minutes with you on the phone? I was like, sure, of course, anytime. And so she called me and she wants to start her own podcast. And I just started laughing like, I'm a podcast expert? Like, hey, attention everyone. I don't know what I'm doing.
I am making it up as I go along.
100%.
Well, right. They call that like imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I have to say that I attribute the community accepting me or these farmers that I've met helping me because I have been really open about the fact that from day one I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. So I make it up every single day as I go along. And because of that, I think they've been really willing to help me when I need it or teach me. And if I would have just shown up and tried to pretend like I was an expert or pretend I was going to do things better than they were, obviously they would have seen right through that. And I think that's the one thing that's been kind of reciprocal between us, where other rescues draw a line in the sand and the farmer is the enemy. And I have found that in addition to helping the cow or whatever farm animal it happens to be, I would also like to be able to help the person that's raising these farm animals until I can flip a magical switch and no one's raising farm animals for food. I can at least provide them with a better life, the animals and the farmer, I guess. And several of them have said to me, I will never farm the same way again.
That is so powerful. And it's that old adage too of like, I've seen memes of this with, dogs of like, we may not be able to save all the dogs in the world, but to the one dog that we saved, we made his world. I probably just butchered that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
One is enough. One is more than enough. One is plenty. If everybody did a little bit, then here we go. Here's a question I don't know if I asked you the last time when we first met. Have you always been from Tennessee?
No, I'm actually from Ohio. I grew up in Ohio, and I work for myself. And one year, Ohio's winter was so bad, and I become really, really depressed in the winter. I don't like the cold, and it was like a winter where we had 18 degrees below zero.
Oy.
And I work for myself, so why do I live here? So Abby and I, my daughter, talked about it, and we decided we were going to move south. And there were several reasons why we picked the Nashville area. But I moved here in 2017, and I purposefully bought a house to retire in. So I have arthritis, and I wanted to make sure it had, one floor, no stairs. It also had a separate wing, which was conducive for Abby and I working our business, and I could get away from it. But then that separate bedroom and bathroom wing could also serve to help care for my parents should they need it as they get older. We may have talked about this
Yeah,
actually,
no, I
because this
do
is
remember.
sounding
I remember this
okay.
part.
It's
Yeah,
sounding familiar.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
and then that was
you built your dream home, and then
I sold it.
you sold it.
Yeah, I didn't build it. I moved into it, but yeah, I then turned around and sold it 4 years later to save Elizabeth, and then found myself living in an RV. And that first week, things got screwed up with the address. And without an address, you can't get a mailbox or post office delivery, no Amazon, and then you can't get a permit. So all of that got delayed. So I was at the first week of April in the RV, completely in the dark at night. And there's no lights out here, none. So I'm a city girl going, where's the city pollution, light pollution, right? It's like so dark out here, no heat, no internet, no light. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
It's so magic, though. It's so magic.
Oh man. And true story. A couple of weeks after that, I saw on Facebook this newcomers to McMinnville, Tennessee lunch group that get together. So I went to meet some other new people, and this one woman's like, "Well, how'd you get to McMinnville?" So I told the story, and she's like, "So one woman in an RV." One woman with one cow in an RV, that's not much of a cow rescue, or that's not much of a rescue, or however she said it. And it upset me so greatly that is the number one reason I was so late to open the doors to the public,
Interesting.
because she had said that to me. And I thought to myself, I just gave up absolutely everything to do this one really good thing. And I'm at the beginning of it, and I don't know what it's going to look like. But that was like her perception, which I thought is going to be everyone else's perception. And I kept putting off opening to the public.
But also, that was your own fear of what it could be, that any of us have, because we all start somewhere, and some of us have very lofty dreams, which is great. And others of us go, oh, I hope this works. And some of us go, this is going to be a disaster. But that touched you, or touched on some nerve for you, because were you kind of wondering that yourself? I mean, sitting in the dark?
Yeah, I think that I probably was, because even when I tell the story of doing it, I don't know how I had the guts to do it. And, I'm sure in one of our conversations, we've talked about how it was completely irrational, and everyone is like, what have you done? And I still question that right now, because 3 years in, and I have not left myself in a good financial situation. And every time I bring another animal on, Annie is a really good example, because of Annie's condition. In addition to being blind, she has some additional cognitive issues. So at 12 weeks old, by this time, a cow should be feeding itself, and Annie cannot. So I'm spending 3 or 4 hours a day with her alone. So if you add on all the rest of the cows I need to take care of, plus the land itself, plus you've got to do things to run the nonprofit and social media posting and making sure you're getting some type of donations pouring in and all of this, paperwork for the state and the legalities. And then I'm very rarely finding any time to work. So, and I think this is true of a lot of nonprofit founders, especially in the animal industry, because you can open a nonprofit and not spend any money until you have the money. So you can say, I really want to do this and I want to have this program and I want to launch that and offer this service or be this resource, but I first need the money and I'm going to go get that first. But in this particular case, I had to do everything backwards or ass backwards, as I typically say, because the animals came first. And when you take on all of these animals, mostly in some type of need, whether they're ill or injured, you can't just say, just hold off here until I get properly funded.
Right.
So I had to build the farm and buy the equipment and everything that these cows need without having the funding. And that's super scary. So there are still days I'm thinking to myself, I hope this works out in the end. But fingers are crossed.
And you're in it.
Yep. And it's been, I'm still in a situation where there are days when I am beyond amazed at the life I'm living and the people who come here when we're open on Sundays and the kids have the best time. And people have been coming to spend time with Annie, essentially babysitters. So they're not coming really to do farm chores. They're coming to stay with Annie so that I can then step away and do something else. And they're having the best time. And to see them build relationships with these cows when they're like, I didn't even know that was personal or possible. I didn't know they had personalities. It's a lot of fun. Or I see something happen and I think to myself, I can't believe this is actually happening to me. Because if you would have asked me, 5 years ago, do you think you would have all these cows and cats and a sheep and people would be coming to your farm and you're introducing, people to these farm animals in a new light? I'd be like, no, I don't know. I don't see where that would be a possibility. And it's just been incredibly impactful. And then there are also days I just want to cry and I think to myself, what have I done?
That's all of us at this point, or everyone I know at least. I'm like that myself. I want to ask you something, though, because you just hit on something. The person you were 5-6 years ago compared to the person you are now, are you more present and in your moment now than you've been before?
Yeah, absolutely. Being with the animals kind of requires that. And funny that you bring this up because I just had this happen to me today. Every once in a while, something will happen, or I'll see something between two animals, and I go to take a picture of it thinking, that's going to be great. I'm going to post that on social media. And today was a really good example of not doing that. And I think sometimes I just want to keep things to myself. And if nobody else knows about it, then that's okay because it's just for me. And I was lucky enough to see it. And I feel like we all need to do that. I was talking to somebody who went to the Taylor Swift Eras concert and how much they paid for their ticket. And they basically videotaped the whole entire thing and FaceTime friends and didn't see a gosh darn minute of the whole entire 3.5 hour concert.
I brought this up so many times. Keep going.
So I think we need to stop and go, I was actually at this event. I can take one picture and keep it as a memory, but 500 pictures and then not being present for the event that I'm at is not a good move.
100%, because you're spending all your time staring at your phone, thinking about what you're capturing, thinking about what you're going to do with it, thinking about what it's going to look like, thinking about people liking it, and you're not present. And it's such a powerful, powerful thing.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Now, you have also built a farmhouse with a guest house of some sort. I'm punting here, but you built something because you have a plan where people are going to be able to come and stay there and work on the farm because we got to put them to work.
Yeah, so I don't know why McMinnville, because we're kind of in beyond the foothills, but coming into the bottom of the Appalachian Mountains. And no one's been able to explain it to me, but it is windier here than I could possibly imagine. Sometimes I get tired of the wind. You constantly hear it howling. And this land is very, very hilly, too hilly, honestly. But looking back when I bought land for the first time, I remember looking and going, oh, these rolling hills are great. Well, now that I have to farm them, drive on them, drive my tractor on them, think about building on them, I go, there's not a flat place here anywhere. So the only sort of flat area is on a hill across from a valley. And at some point in history, a tornado ripped through there. So in the RV, the wind was just terrifying. And I wasn't ready to build a house for a lot of reasons, but I did pull the trigger on building a garage. And then above the garage, I put an apartment, which is about 750 square feet. And it overlooks the pasture. There's a balcony on the top floor, and then if you come out the back of the garage, there's a big porch with a porch swing. So I live here at the moment until a house is built, but eventually it will kind of be an Airbnb place where people can come. We also could have like informal fundraisers or a holiday party. And then 4 times a year, I'm going to open it up to people who want to come and experience working on the farm, doing farm chores and what have you. And I actually got this idea from the Amish in Ohio. And it's becoming more and more challenging for the Amish to earn a living and still follow all of the rules within the religion that they need to follow as technology goes flashing by them. And several of them will open their home and you can come and stay with them, go to church with them on Saturday. You know, maybe they've got a barn raising or they're doing something for a farm friend down the road, but you have to follow all of their rules. You can't bring your cell phone. So you're paying to stay there. And then you also don't have electricity and you also don't have your phone. And it is a way to unplug, but you're immersing yourself in their world. And I talked to some people about it, and my neighbors think it's hilarious that someone would pay to stay here and then fix fencing and shovel manure. I'm like, I know, but if you live in the city and you've never done it, it sounds fun.
It sounds so fun. And I want to say one quick thing really quickly. Amish country, Pennsylvania. We grew up in New Jersey. My mother, 2 summers in a row, not once, but twice, made a family of Jews drive to Amish country. And I don't remember us working, but we definitely were in Amish country 2 summers in a row. Like everyone else was going to Disney World and Disneyland and Bermuda and the Jersey Shore. We went to Amish country twice because of my mother, who is listening right now, who's going to deny it,
Hi, Mom.
but we went twice. And God bless you, mother. Now, that said, I think that sounds like so much goddamn fun, I can't even stand it for the reason you just said, which is I could unplug. It's much like camping, hiking, going into nature. I think people are craving that.
Yeah,
I think they're craving that connection. And I think people are craving simplicity.
I completely agree. And I try and put myself in their shoes because 3 years ago, I was very nervous to be in a pasture with a cow. Now I can get in and do all kinds of things and hug and squeeze them and push them and make them do whatever I want, or, pull something out of their mouth if they grabbed a tool when I'm working on the fence. So when they come to the farm, and they've never had that opportunity to go in the pasture with the cows, it's a great experience. And I think that it was fun for me the first couple of times I had to fix pasture fence. When you do it all the time, or you have to do it all the time, it loses its, excitement. But I think it's also a way for people in today's world to constantly be challenging themselves to just learn things that are new outside of your normal life.
Where do people find you and how do they support the Tennessee Cow Rescue?
Well, you can find us online at tennesseecowrescue.org, and we are on all of the social media channels. I post most frequently on Instagram, and we're not Instagram, I'm sorry, Facebook. We're listed under Tennessee Cow Rescue. And just following us, liking our content, sharing the word about the work that we're doing here is the best way that you can support us. If you're interested in making a donation or supporting one of the cows as a monthly sponsor, you can do that on our donation page on the website.
And you can also buy them some hay.
Yeah, we go through a lot of hay.
And how much is some hay? Like how much is a bushel of hay, a barrel of hay?
A square bale has jumped in price even in the 3 years that I have been here. I cannot believe it. It went from $5 to $10 a square bale. And we still use square bales for Sanjay, the mini cow, and the lamb and the calves. And I did end up getting a tractor this year, which helped us go or make the change to round bales. And there is a cost savings there because one round bale is $50. I don't know how that's equivalent to a lot of square bales. Let me figure that out. It's 800 pounds. That's 16 square bales.
Wow, 800 pounds for $50?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why the tractor was so.
I was gonna say, how did you have to go get it, or did they roll it in? What happens?
They deliver them on a flatbed, and the farmer who does this for me is nice enough to then use my tractor and offload them for me.
Aw.
Because it's a lot.
What were you doing before? Wait, before you had a tractor?
I was doing square bales by hand.
Oh my God.
So in my 50s, on a daily basis, I was lifting and tossing out 300 pounds of hay.
All right, girl.
At all of our future events, like we're having a spring vegan barbecue, and we're having an event in the fall for kids, kind of like a boo at the moo event. We're definitely going to have square bale tossing.
I love it. When is the spring event?
I haven't set on a date yet. I know it's going to be in May. We're also having our first annual volunteer day in May. We were supposed to have it last year, and I ended up coming down with COVID, and it rained. We've also got a Reiki class that's on April 28th, so people can come and get certified for energy healing. We're doing both level 1, level 2, and then the master certification the following spring. But what's really cool about it is that people will be certified for both people and animals. And while they're here for the day getting their certification and their attunement, they get to practice on the animals here at the farm.
Oh, and they're going to love that. You're going to have to get me those dates because Jim and I are going to have to come take a trip out there.
Absolutely. We would love to have you guys.
Oh, no. Put him right. You can put Jim to work.
Put him to work. We'll set you up with a drink with an umbrella on the.
Yes, you and me, and we'll have bullhorns that we can just yell at him to work faster.
Yes. Does he listen to the podcast on a regular basis?
I don't know. He's gonna. Well, I hope he does for his sake, or maybe not.
Yeah. Well, don't say anything to him and see if he mentions this in a couple of weeks.
We close these shows with 2 questions. You've answered them before. I don't even know if you remember your answers, but here we go. Question number 1 is, who inspires you?
Oh my goodness. I forgot about this part. Can I get some Jeopardy music? Do, 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 do. I don't remember. I'm trying to think of what my initial answer was. I think right now the people who inspire me are the people that are doing the work and the other rescue, because at the time you and I first spoke, I hadn't met any other rescue owners, and now I know quite a few. And we are all grinding it out on a daily basis. We do not live easy lives. And thankfully, we can each kind of support and inspire each other. And luckily, we don't all have a challenging day at the same time. So when one of us has a bad day, we can get each other out of it. So that's probably who's inspiring me right now. Other founders.
And the final question is not even a question. It is a statement to finish any way you like. And it goes like this. Tell me something good.
Let's see. What is something good? This is not related to anything that I do, but the one thing I really am excited about this year, after 3 years of not really doing a whole lot of anything extra, my daughter is getting married this spring. So that's a really exciting thing that I'm looking forward to. Not cow related. No cows invited to the wedding.
Thank you, Denise, for returning to share your good. Next time on World Gone Good.
It's about sharing your voice, learning how to share your voice. Ultimately, that's what it is. It's like learning how to be, as a gay person, learning how to be proud of ourselves and how to come out and how to, stand in who we are. And same thing for our parents, like teaching them how to share their voice too, as a parent of a gay person or a trans person, teaching them how to stand proud too. And I was like, that's what we're here for. That's what this is all about. It's about sharing these stories so that we can help each other navigate better.
Angela Briones is the creative force behind the Gay Podcast for Everyone. And when she says everyone, she means everyone, including herself. Because through sharing her voice, she's found her voice. And so much more. I had the pleasure of being on her show a few weeks ago, and I'm thrilled to have her over on ours now. I can't wait for you to hear it. Until then, be good.